Good morning and welcome. My name is Chris Shelton, and thank you for joining me for the 5 keys to stop treating and start curing disease and chronic pain. You know, myself and my beautiful wife, Parisa Shelton, have over 30 years of combined experience in the health, healing, and fitness industry. And today what we're going to do is I'm going to teach you and show you the simple tools and techniques that I've used on myself that we use with our family, our clients, our friends, as well as our loved ones. And if you saw our post for this webinar, that if you're not part of the solution, then you're part of the problem, is a pretty bold statement. But really, the reality is that in order to start to transform and change the world, it all starts with ourselves. And we have to change our thoughts, our thought patterns, our perceptions of life, as well as how we take care of our bodies on all 3 levels: mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And today I will share with you these simple techniques to help to get balance in all 3 of those areas in your life. Now, before we begin, I thought that I'd start off with a simple meditation called the Center and Balance Meditation. And this meditation is fantastic. The reason why we wrote it and have it available on iTunes as well as on our website is because healing starts from within, and if you really understand your body and can feel your body on the inside just as much as you do on the outside, then you can start to tell if disease is going to set in before it really sets in. You know, the Chinese medical doctors of the day had a saying that a superior doctor is one that can prevent disease before disease sets in. So the whole idea here is for you to become empowered enough to where you could sense disease before disease sets in, and then be able to do these simple practices and meditations in order to help to ward it off. And so this practice here is a simple practice with profound results. It's not only meant to get you out of your head and back into your body again, but more importantly, like I was just saying, to really get you to feel your body on the inside. Because if you could really sense or feel your body on the inside, I know how crazy that seems, but it's not a feeling like if you're tangibly holding on to something. It's more of an intangible sense. But if you could actually feel inside your body, then, you know, for example, if you feel that your liver or kidneys are out of balance, if you could feel that, then you'll know which of these practices you could do in order to enhance your well-being and change the process of disease before disease sets in. And or more importantly, if you already have a condition that you've been struggling with, then be able to know what practices you could do in order to help to change that. And of course, proper sleep, food and diet, and proper exercise is also important, and we're going to talk about that as the 5 keys as we go along here. So as we get started, what I want you to go ahead and do is I want you to go ahead and find a comfortable place. You can do this meditation from a seated or a standing posture. And if you're seated, what you're going to go ahead and do is you're going to sit with your feet flat on the floor, your feet out about shoulders width apart, and the hands gently resting on the knees, either palms facing down or face up. If you're standing, what you're going to do is you're going to stand with your feet out about shoulders width apart, knees slightly bent, gently tuck the sacrum. And for both the seated and the standing postures, we're going to go ahead and gently tuck the chin. By tucking the chin, it presses up on the crown point of the top of the head. We're going to gently place the tip of the tongue on the roof of the mouth behind the teeth, as if saying the letter N. And the breath is long, steady, even, and deep into the abdomen. And so with your eyes closed, let's go ahead and begin. You're going to start off first by just feeling the breath come in as you inhale, and feel it release as you exhale. Feel the abdomen expand with each inhalation, and feel it contract as you exhale. Focusing first on the front of the body, starting at the top of the head. Imagine warm oil that begins to melt down from the top of the head, enveloping first the forehead, the temples, the brow bone, eyebrows, and eyes. Inch by inch, cell by cell, tissue by tissue, flowing from the eyes into the nose, the cheeks, the side of the face, and ears. Feel everything that's in front of you. Now this warm oil penetrates from the base of the nose into the lips, the jaw, the chin, the front of the neck and throat, the shoulders, upper chest, biceps, elbow creases, forearms, wrists, palms of the hands lead all the way out to the fingertips. And from there, allow for this warm oil to melt down from the base of the neck into the upper chest, the flanks of the body, the midsection, the abdomen, flowing through the waist, through the groin, through the thighs, the knees, the shins, ankles, feet and toes, all connecting, all flowing off deep into the ground. And from there, just take a moment to feel the entire front of your body simultaneously from head to toe. Also feel the left and right sides of your body. Taking a mental note as to what you're experiencing, we're now going to focus on what's behind us. So once again, starting at the crown point, at the top of the head. Imagine this warm oil melts down through the scalp. You feel every hair follicle, every cell, every tissue as it flows behind the ears, the base of the skull into the neck, the shoulders, the triceps, the elbows, the back of the forearms, the wrists, the back of the hands leading all the way out to the fingertips. Now this warm oil envelops the upper shoulders, the upper back, the mid back, the low back, the waist, flowing, overpouring through the trunk, the buttocks, hamstrings, the back of the knees, the calves, the ankles, the heels. Once again, all connected, and allow for this warm oil to flow down deep into the ground. And now feel what's going on behind you, feeling just as much in the back as you do in the front, as well as to the left and to the right. Now connecting to your higher self, whatever that may be for you, or just imagine a white light that penetrates through the center of your being, illuminating your senses as to what's going on inside of you. You feel and visualize the brain, the left and right hemispheres of the brain, the space between the brain and the skull, the eyes, the nerves that connect from the eyes to the center of the brain, the bones of the face, the muscles, the blood vessels, the sinuses, the inner ear, the jaw structure, the upper palate, the lower palate, the tongue. Now you feel and visualize each vertebra from the base of the skull down through the center of the neck and throat. This white light penetrates into the neck. You feel the muscles, the arteries, the air passageway. Now this white light branches off into the bones of the upper chest, upper back, and shoulders. You feel the muscle, the fascia, the connective tissue, the center of the biceps, triceps, the elbows, the forearms, the wrists, all the small bones and ligaments of the hands and fingers. Now this white light touches every rib. Feel as the ribs wrap around to the spine on the back. You feel the heart, the lungs, the liver and gallbladder, the right side of the body, the stomach and spleen on the left side, the intestines, the kidneys, the bladder, the pelvic bone, the bones of the legs, the muscles surrounding them, the knees, the center of the shins and calves, ankles, all the small bones and ligaments of the feet and toes, and allow for this white light to flow down deep into the ground. And from there, just feel your feet melt into the earth like you're standing on a sea. Liquid energy comes up about the height of the ankles. Next, imagine roots growing out from the bottom of the feet all the way down to the center core of the earth. And just feel the connection. Feel your body. Staying present. And then from here, coming back to the present, slowly finishing up by pulling down the heavens 3 times, inhaling. Connecting with your higher self, imagine this white light as you pull down the heavens, coming in, exhaling. Inhale and exhale. Slowly open up your eyes and relax. Okay, how does that feel? To me, every time I do any type of meditation where I'm focusing inward, it just makes me feel fantastic. And once again, this meditation is really not just meant for relaxation. Relaxation is just a byproduct of doing Qigong practices. So every single meditation, no matter how simple it is, or whatever type of movement that we do, everything is meant to do something medicinally inside the body. And this is something that you could take with you anywhere. You don't need any special clothing. You don't need a mat. You don't need any extra material. All you need to do is find places that you could relax and that's uncluttered and where you're not going to be disturbed, and do this and go ahead and do the practice. Now from here, I thought what I'd share with you is a little biography, a little story about myself. We all have a story, but this story is the story of how I got to where I am today. You know, after 26 years of doing these practices, I couldn't believe that all the things have showed up in my life. And this video shows who I am, or who I think I am, or who I thought I was, and what it took for me to get here and share with the world the gifts that I've been blessed to be able to not only to enhance my own well-being, but also to enhance the lives of other people. So with that said, it's only a 4-minute video. So just go ahead and relax and take it all in, and I'll be back in 4 minutes.
When we break down the word Qigong, Qi is the life force energy that emanates through all living things, and Gong is a skill in which to harness this life force energy, and in this case, in order to improve your overall physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. I did a lot of crystal meth in the day, and by the time I was 17, I had my first heart attack from a meth overdose, and put myself into Taekwondo as a means to change my path, because I realized I was going to end up dead or in prison or both. I started competing right away with Taekwondo. I did my first competition when I got my yellow belt, you know. And anyways, one night before a match, I was kicked in the back, which then dropped me to the ground. And doctor said, "Chris, you know, you might be, you know, if you're not careful, you might not ever walk again." My mom was a nurse, and she worked for this amazing chiropractor who father, grandfather, brother, sister were all chiropractors, but also she had studied Chinese medicine and homeopathy, and she had a massage therapist working for her at the time, and they wheeled me in there. And he was a martial artist, and he started talking to me about Qi. Well, now I'm 18 years old, and I'm like, yeah, right. So anyways, I had other health problems too. I had severe sinus problems, digestive problems. I had a slight case of OCD, and I had nothing to lose. I started taking these classes, and back then, this was over 25 years ago, nobody was practicing Qigong, or very few people were practicing Qigong in the United States. And I kid you not, after about 6 months of doing these practices every single day, you know, you just wake up one day, you're like, wow, when did I stop living on the Sudafed and the Actifed, when I stopped living on the Tums and Kaopectate? You know, you don't know when it changed. Like there's not a pinpoint date, but you know that there was a change. And I thought, wow, if a movement, gentle movement and guided meditation could create this much change inside my body, then there must be something to Chinese medicine. So indirectly, because of the Qigong, that instructor I was training with supposedly was teaching Chen style Tai Chi, and Chen style Tai Chi is a martial art. It's the oldest system of Tai Chi. A lot of people, when they hear of Tai Chi, they just think it's what old people do in the park. And so what happened was, after I broke away from him, and then I found my Sifu, who I'm still with today, Tony Wong, who really teaches the traditional Chen Tai Chi. I mean, we're directly connected to Chen Village in China, the Hunan province, and I started competing with Tai Chi in tournaments. I've been in Inside Kung Fu magazine a couple of times, competed at the national level, was ranked 10th in the US at one point. So yeah, so I dabbled with that too. And then finally with Sound Show, with Kung Lee's fight team, so introduced to Sound Show. Thousands of years ago, before man started to evolve and lose their spiritual centers, and paid more attention to the ego, They were enlightened enough to understand how these internal organs functioned. They were enlightened enough to understand that there are channels in the body, and that there are actually points in the body, and that these vessels and channels and these organs correlate to the seasons, and correlate to different foods that you eat, correlate to different colors. And so that is the foundation of Chinese medicine, is recognizing when the organism itself and its internal environment is not much different than the external environment. So just like there can be a discord in your external environment, weather-wise or in your personal life, that's also can happen on the inside. So when someone says to me, even if it's a disease that I've never heard of before, and they say, can you help me with it? My answer is yes, because I believe that anything is possible.
So that's a brief summary of how I got to where I am today and now presenting to you. And I can't tell you how grateful I am to be able to be here talking and speaking with you about this powerful and simple practice that helped to transform my life. And I didn't know that I wanted to be a change maker. I didn't know what that meant. All I knew is that I wanted to improve my health and my overall well-being. And as you saw in that short documentary, I really had a troubled youth and really had a lot of struggles. And so the introduction to Qigong was actually the foundation or the catalyst for me really wanting and understanding that it was my responsibility, not somebody else's responsibility, but it was my responsibility to change myself, to change my life. And the only way that I could do that is by changing my thought processes and adding things into my life that were positive and that were going to enhance my overall well-being. So what does it take to be a change maker? The first question is, do you want change? Do you need change, whether it's in your health, your finances, your relationships, or your physical or mental, emotional state? Or do you want to create change in your community? Or do you have a bigger goal like I do and my wife Parisa does, which is to help to create change in the world, so influencing the world? If you're joining me here today, at some level, you're one of those people that wants to be a change maker and is just looking for a way on how to participate and how to be that kind of change maker that this world needs. So if you answered yes to any one of those questions I just asked you, then you are that change maker. So at the end of this webinar, I'm going to give you an amazing offer to help to create change, the change that you're looking for. So be the inspiration to create the change. So what is it about Qigong that's so special? Well, in today's day and age, there's a common condition called burnout. And we live in the San Francisco Bay Area, Silicon Valley, as well as in Los Angeles, California. And if you live in any major city, especially, the chances of burnout are really extreme. Here in Silicon Valley, for example, I'm hearing about 23-year-old, 24-year-old fresh out of college students that are going to work for these high-tech companies and already are having problems with chronic fatigue or having problems with tremors or shakiness, not sleeping right, and all kinds of other health problems. And at 23 or 24 years old, you should not have to endure something like that. So what is burnout? Burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It occurs when you feel overwhelmed and are unable to meet the demands of day-to-day life. And as the stress continues, you begin to lose interest in things and activities that you used to once enjoy. You may have burnout if every day is a bad day. Caring about your work, your home, your life seems like a total waste of energy. You don't want to get out of bed. You're exhausted all the time. The majority of your day is spent taking on tasks, either mind-numbing or mind-numbingly dull or overwhelming. You feel like there's nothing you can do that'll make a difference in the world. And if you're drowning in this excessive stress, then what's going to happen is that the burnout slowly starts to creep in. So there's certain symptoms, like all diseases, there's certain symptoms that start to show up. A little eye tremor that we get is a sign that there's stress going on. Now that stress could be a temporary stress, or it could be the body's way of knocking on your back door saying, listen to me, got to pay attention here because something major is around the corner. So our bodies are always talking to us. And and to be able to handle the stress, because most people are not going to be able to stop what they're doing today and then just go to the mountains and meditate and have this simple plain life. No, the reality is that most of us, and myself included, have to live amongst society to give back to society and support our families. So what can you do in order to help to offset the side effects of burnout? Well, Qigong is a simple practice with profound results. And what I love about Qigong is that it doesn't discriminate against anybody. So it doesn't discriminate against race, gender, religious or spiritual background. You could do it from a seated or a standing position. It does not matter. And that's one of the great things. Plus, it's simple. They have a saying that says that the simplicity is more profound. Us Americans, 9 times out of 10, want things that are much more complex. Our minds are always going. They're always talking to us. And we think, okay, well, we need to have some sort of rigorous movement or rigorous action in order to keep our bodies healthy or to create change. And I'm here to tell you today is that no, that's not the case. That actually the simplicity, the more simple your life is, then the much more profound the results that you're going to get. And this is especially true with Qigong. And what's great is that for myself, I didn't know this back in the time when I first started doing Qigong or practicing Qigong, but I was actually able to make a very fulfilling career out of it. And I'm doing things today that I never thought I'd ever do in a million years. So it's something that, you know, if you're somebody that just wants to learn to cultivate your own health, to be able to improve or understand the knowledge of your body and how it functions on a deeper level, or if you're somebody that wants to teach this, that wants to start a clinical practice, or let's say you already have a clinical practice, or you're a personal trainer, or you're a social worker, a therapist, then this is something that's great, that's so valuable that you can't even put a price tag on the positive change that will create in your life. So the 5 keys to stop curing disease and chronic pain is, you know, first what we're going to look at today is if you have balance in all 5 of these areas, and people don't understand this. You know, I have some clients that are like the top 1% in the country. They're wealthy, but maybe still don't have a life purpose, or which whether it be their career health, or maybe you have somebody that is physically healthy, but internally they're still dying, or their body's deteriorating, or maybe they have depression. So having these 5 healths is actually responsible for maintaining the overall balance and the vibrancy of our human body, of this vessel that we have to walk around with or to utilize in this form. So the first key that we're going to discuss today is our physical health, traditional movements or exercise that increase your energy and the overall longevity of your body. The second one is your mental emotional health. So simple guided meditation and or movement practice, gentle moving practices that will also help to increase your vibrancy, because again, if you can be physically fit on the outside, but if you're suffering on the inside, whether emotionally or with disease, then that's going to take away from obviously your longevity and this overall vibrancy of life. The third one is your financial health. How are you dealing with money? How do you view money? That's the most important thing. Do you view it as bad? Do you view it as evil? Or people that have lots of money, are they bad people? So what is your perception on your finances on money? Because money also is a form of energy. The fourth thing we're going to look at here is our relationship health. So how are your relationships? How's your relationship with yourself? How's your relationship with your spouse and family members and friends? And then this last one here, which I think is really fascinating for me, is your career health, which is also considered your spiritual health. What is your life purpose? And we're going to take a look at that in discovering what that is for you. So not only has this worked for me, my wife, and thousands of clients, but I'll give you an example of a student that recently attended a webinar and finished our Qigong Teacher Training program, Level 1, and Stephen, who suffered from heart palpitations, was able to gain control over his heart palpitations and then change the process of what was going on with him. And you know what's interesting is that Stephen worked in high tech here in Silicon Valley, and a lot of times he worked from home. And you know, when he first came in for a clinical session to me, I said, well, how's the stress in your life? And he said, just like everybody else, well, everything is great, Chris. Nothing is going on. I said, well, there has to be something else going on in your life that's creating these heart palpitations. And Stephen thought about it for a second, and he said, well, you know what? He goes, you're right. He goes, yeah, everything's great. You know, financially, we're great. You know, the family is great. You know, I love my job and those kinds of things. But, you know, my daughter has special needs, and this creates stress in the family. And because it breaks his heart to see his daughter struggle like she does, this is what was contributing on top of the excessive work of being working in Silicon Valley that's creating the heart palpitations. Anyways, as a result of doing the Qigong Teacher Training program, he started off first with doing some of our online practices, and then he saw, wow, after doing some of these simple practices just once or twice, I already feel different. Anyways, he fast forward, he's now doing great. He's got gained control over his health. His emotional state is more in balance now, and his physical state, meaning the heart palpitations that he was suffering with and the anxiety, has all dissipated. So when we look at our physical health, some people think that just doing physical exercise is the only way to increase your physical health. As you saw in my short documentary, I was able, from Qigong, to overcome a severe back injury as well as physical digestive problems. I mean, these digestive problems were bad. I would eat something and I'd be nauseated or vomiting an hour later, or a few hours later, I'd be in a fetal position because my abdominal cramping was so severe. And doctors could not figure out what was going on with me. And I had every test possible. But after doing these practices, then all of a sudden, like I said in my short documentary, they just went away. You know, and I thought to myself, how can a simple movement create a movement in meditation make me feel so much better? And I thought to myself, if a simple movement could make, or meditation could do this to me, man, there must be something to Chinese medicine. And that's why I started going to school and studying Chinese medicine, because I wanted to understand deeper of how this worked. So this is the thing that we're looking at here. This is the thing that's overlooked. A lot of times when we have disease that shows up, or pain, or chronic pain in our bodies that shows up for us, we just think that the chronic pain is just in that general location. I'm here to tell you today it's not. Now, unless you stubbed your toe, then obviously the results of you stubbing your toe is what's causing the pain. That's not something emotional. It's not something anything else. It could be something on a higher level telling you to watch where you're going or pay attention to things around the corner. But realistically, if you stub your toe, if you shut the car door on your fingers or something like that, stepped on your kids' Lego, that's obviously something physical. But for example, if you have a shoulder, if you wake up one morning with frozen shoulder, or you can't turn your neck, unless you were doing something crazy, like, I don't know, maybe you were a pitcher and dislocated your shoulder in a pitch, you're doing jiu-jitsu, got into a crazy arm bar and so on, popped your shoulder, or you got into a car accident, and directly as a result of the car accident, you noticed that you had pain in the shoulder. Not if you got into a car accident and then a week or two later, all of a sudden the pain shows up. If that's the case, then it's all emotional. So what I'm here to say is that majority of the pain that we have in our body, if you're somebody who suffers from lupus, if you're somebody who suffers from fibromyalgia or Lyme disease, that is something else going on inside your body that's more emotional. And true, poor diet will also contribute to the dysfunction. And what happens is these different diseases actually show up in the body as dysfunctions of the internal organs. So I'm just going to start off with heart disease. So the emotions that affect the heart. And what's really great about Qigong and Chinese medicine is that we understand that the different emotions that we have affect different internal organs. So starting off with the heart, the negative emotion affects the heart is abandonment, loneliness, lack of joy, overexcitation, and mania. And 7.4 million deaths occur each year, and this number is still increasing, believe it or not, even with modern science and technology. Now, the heart is the emperor, empress of the body. It dictates how much of emotion will be expressed or suppressed. But this is the emotions that affect the heart. And we hear it over and over again. In fact, a couple of nights ago, I was watching one of my favorite movies, Walk the Line, the documentary about Johnny Cash and June Carter. And after June Carter passed away, Johnny Cash passed away 3 months later, and that wasn't by accident. He died also of a broken heart. So this goes to show you that how emotions will affect the heart. Now, diabetes and cancer, that actually stems from imbalances of the stomach, spleen, and pancreas. Now, the emotions that are affected, that affect the stomach, spleen, and pancreas are the emotions for anxiety, worry, demand for nurturing, or if you over nurture somebody and don't nurture yourself. Then we have about 1.5 billion people, and this number is increasing. Now, obviously, diet here is going to play a huge role in things like diabetes and cancer, too much consumption of sugar. And there's a documentary out there on Netflix right now about how sugar has become the new tobacco because it's so addicting and it's found in everything. So yes, poor diet, too much sugar, too many carbs, eating too much will also create diseases like this as well too. And this number is increasing, especially in children. Now, lung diseases, so the negative emotions that affect the lungs are sadness, grief, sorrow, and disappointment or loss. And if you or somebody you know has somebody who has passed away recently, or let's say you had to put an animal to sleep and all of a sudden develop an unproductive dry cough, that unproductive dry cough is actually the grief and the sadness that's stuck in the lungs. And there's 3.1 billion people dying of these diseases. And it's not just asthma, it's other diseases like cancer of the lungs and of the throat or of the sinuses. So there's other things that come up as well too, as a result of the loss and the sadness when people suppress that emotion. Now, this is a big one too. Nephritis is kidney disease. So kidneys are affected by the negative emotions of fear, fright, shock. And shock, when we talk about shock here, could be surviving any severe kind of illness, prolonged stress, burning the candles at both ends. Shock could also be seeing or witnessing something violent or horrific, being a part of something that was violent, or abuse, whether physical, emotional, or both. These all affect the kidneys and creates the kidney diseases that we're seeing nowadays. And what's interesting is that instead of these kidney diseases diminishing, we're actually seeing more and more places, dialysis places or dialysis companies showing up, at least in my neighborhood. And so why are so many people suffering from kidney disease? That's something that we really need to look at. And part of it is from burning the candles at both ends. Yes, also poor diet here, but also what kind of stress and trauma have they had in their life. Now, this last one here, the stroke is where the anger, the frustration, the rage, and the resentment actually affects your liver and your gallbladder. And in 6.7 million people, and this number is rising, I'm seeing younger and younger people that are actually dying or having strokes or aneurysms as a result of the stress or the repressed anger. And you know what? If you have repressed anger for a long period of time or resentment, and you shove that down, then it turns into depression. So when a client comes into clinic to see me and they are suffering from depression, we don't treat the mind. What we do is we work with the liver, which affects the heart, which then affects the mind. So physiology-wise, it's a different way of looking at the body. So, you know, you could have physical health, and you could perceive what physical health is, but to be honest with you, your physical health goes back to the proper functioning of these internal organs. And I see this time and time again, where somebody appears to be physically fit, but they're still suffering from diseases. And for one example, we had this one Qigong teacher who a year ago, she did our online teacher training program, and she attended the webinar. And at the time, you know, she was a personal trainer. And when I saw her, you know, she was physically fit, but one of the ways that we have to diagnose is we can look at the tongue, we could do the pulse, and also we could read the face. Every line, every feature on your face tells a story about what's going on internally inside your body, how your organs are functioning, as well as what past or present trauma you're going through. So anyways, so this client, this teacher now, she came in to see me, and she wanted to have a back problem issue addressed. And you know, on the first assessment, I said, okay, we'll fix the back, but you have to do something with the emotions of resentment towards men. She goes, I don't have a resentment towards men. I said, okay, whatever. I continued to type her notes. We fixed the back problems. She would periodically come in, for different things, like if she got a cold or a flu or whatnot. And then one day she came in, and something I saw on her tongue, something I saw on her face, I told her, I said, I need you to make an appointment with your primary. I want your carotid arteries looked at and tested. And she goes, you're crazy. She goes, look at me. She goes, I'm physically fit. I eat healthy. I work out 1 to 2 hours every day. I have almost 0% body fat. And I said, well, I'm seeing something. I just want to rule out that there's nothing going on. So it's up to you what you do with this. And so 2 weeks later, she came into the office and she was sitting in my lobby and was in tears. And I said, what's going on? She said, I want to thank you for saving my life because both my carotid arteries are 70% blocked. So she's eating right and she's exercising. What is the one part that she's missing? That was that mental, emotional state. And in her condition, or her symptoms, was as a result of having too much resentment towards a male figure. So the reality is about your health is that your body wants to be healthy. The DNA is designed to be healthy. What's really great about science is showing that even if you are born into a family with heart disease, diabetes, whatnot, your body wants to be healthy. And the overall DNA, the helix of the DNA strands, the overall helix itself is healthy. There might be components of that helix that shows the potential for heart disease, diabetes, etc. But science is now proving that if you change your lifestyle, change how you eat, change how you perceive what's going on in the world, change your environment, and also change how you react to emotional stimuli, you will not get the disease, or you will change that component of the DNA, and the DNA will become healthy, and you'll have a healthy and long life. And so, I'm just going to use Phil Jackson. When we're talking about physical health, how does Qigong relate back to physical health? It also relates back to sports performance as well too. Phil Jackson, the basketball coach from the Chicago Bulls and the LA Lakers, he's one of the most winningest coaches in all of history. He had 11 rings to his credit, and for winning 11 championships. And when Phil was asked, what did you do? How did you win so many titles? And he said, what I did? I would have my players do these mindfulness meditations on the basketball court, not only specific guided meditations, but then I'd have them visualize how they were feeling before the game, during the game, and then after the game. And he contributes this to the reason for his success. So not only does Qigong help you internally with the proper function of your internal organs, but if you're somebody who's an athlete, it's something that will definitely give you a step up against the competition when you're competing. So the next key here is mind and emotional health. And your emotional health is one of utmost importance, because if you can be mindful and in the present moment, then you won't be as emotionally affected by external stimuli and situations around you. And you know what? If you are more in balance, then chances are the people that you draw into your life, we'll talk about this more as we get into relationship health, but chances are people that are surrounding you, that you draw into your life, will also be more emotionally balanced and therefore less stressful on your life. So Qigong connects the heart and the mind together. We call this the heart-mind connection. And for years, science thought that your consciousness was directly connected to the frontal cortex of your brain. And now science is now proving that no, and this is what the Chinese have said for thousands of years, that no, your consciousness is actually here in the heart. And there's a group of scientists called HeartMath in Santa Cruz. So where they're doing electromagnetic studies, or they're doing studies that show that electromagnetic signals that come from the heart. So for example, like if you give somebody a sincere hug, they're also showing that when you give that sincere hug, that both hearts of both people actually move a little bit closer together. And it's not, when we talk about emotions and we talk about this heart-mind connection, it's not that emotions are bad. Emotions actually are good, and they're great signals as to what's going on within us as well as what's going on in our outside environment, which a lot of times our outside environment is a byproduct of what's going on the inside. It's when the emotions are not being processed properly that it creates disease. For example, anger is a great emotion if it causes you to fight for the underdog. to create positive change in the world, to get out of a bad situation, or to be creative in something, then that anger is actually working with you properly. But if anger is causing you to have road rage, you're waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're having menstrual problems, you're having depression, there's a whole list of things, eye trouble, then that anger, or migraines, then that anger is no longer serving you. So this is where Qigong could actually help. And I'll give you an example of another teacher that came on. She was on our webinar, and I'm just going to call her Stephanie. And Stephanie came on, and when she came on, she was very severely depressed, on borderline of being suicidal. We saw her in clinic, and we started giving her some of these practices to do on her own. True, we changed her diet according to Chinese nutrition. And from doing some of these gentle movements and practices, she was able to get some relief. And she signed up for the webinar, watched the video like what you're doing right now, and then thought, wow, this is something I could really utilize to do for myself. And again, this program that we're offering here is not only for people that want to go out there and be teachers. More importantly, it's for anybody out there that wants to improve their own health and create change for themselves. Anyways, she was able to pull herself out of the darkness through this Qigong Teacher Training program. And this is just another example. We're seeing this example over and over and over again, how these simple practices empower people to transform and create change in the world. So when we look at the mental emotional health of things, of our bodies, then what we have to understand is that there's these simple practices that we could do. They're thousands of years old. And like I tell people, if it's something that's fake, then it wouldn't still be around thousands of years later. Anything that's not real, anything that's fake doesn't maintain, because all of its flaws will eventually show itself. This is not a belief structure. It's not pseudoscience. These are just some of the things I hear from people that are just blocked and cut off spiritually and emotionally, or they're basing their comments out of fear. This is something that has been around for thousands of years. And the reason for it is ultimately for you to become your own superior doctor. And, they have a saying that the Yellow Emperor's Classic of Difficulties, also referred to as the Su Wen, which is an ancient Chinese medicine book. It says, to fight disease after disease sets in is like digging a well after one has become thirsty, or forging one's weapons after one is engaged in battle. Wouldn't this be too late? And same thing with disease. Isn't it too late, or wouldn't it be foolish if you knew that you could actually prevent disease or change the process of disease if you just took 10 or 15 minutes every day and applied some of these practices to your life? And the cool thing about our Qigong Teacher Training program, which I believe is the most comprehensive program out there, is that we're not only teaching you the practices, but we're helping you understand how your body functions, and according to Chinese medicine, and how these organs function, and how it's connected to the seasons and to the foods that you're eating. So we're educating you as well as to why these practices work, not just, oh, let's pull down the heavens because Chris says it works, or let's do the center and balance meditation because Chris says it works, but really understanding physically, spiritually, and emotionally how it's affecting your body. So the reality about relaxation and Qigong is our minds are very powerful. And over again, I'm sure you've had this happen to you, because it's happened to me, where let's say you haven't talked to somebody in a long time, and all of a sudden that you had an image of them, a fleeting image of them, and then randomly, but it's not so random, out of the blue, they all of a sudden call you or send you a letter. This is our minds at work here, and our minds are connected to us, to everything out there spiritually. So, a couple years ago, Priest and I had we're fortunate enough to be able to attend a workshop or a lecture with Deepak Chopra and Eckhart Tolle, and the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. And one of the things I liked that Deepak said that stuck with me is that in between him and Eckhart Tolle, his chair, there's a small little table with a vase and a rose in it. And he told the audience, he said, I want everybody to stare at the rose, and I want you now to stare at the rose and then close your eyes and have a mental image of the rose. He asked the audience, can everybody see the rose in their head? And they said, sure. Everybody nodded yes or said yes. And then Deepak said, okay, open up your eyes. He said, nowhere inside your brain is there a rose. He goes, therefore, your mind is a reflection of your reality. And the clearer that your mind is, then what happens is that the more in tune with nature you become, and more in tune with your own divine nature, as well as to what's going on in your body. So, and again, going back to the mind, the brain and the mind, and the frontal cortex of the brain, when they talk about where our consciousness, they can't locate the mind inside the brain. It's impossible. Science has tried to, they cannot. And because your mind is not located inside the brain itself. And once again, the more that you are in tune from doing these gentle, simple breathing and movement techniques, then the more in tune you get with your body, and the more you're able to calm your mind and have a peaceful life. So the third key here to proper health and balance is the ability to have healthy relationships. So how does Qigong help with unblocking issues that you have in your relationship? So like I said in the very beginning of this webinar, is that a lot of times what's going on the inside is, or what's going on the outside of your body and your environment, is actually a reflection on the inside. So if you're able to remove some of those blockages, then what you're able to do is then have healthier boundaries, have healthier relationships with people, and then be able to have healthy people that help to support the other aspects of your 5 healths. Okay, so when we look at that, you may also be thinking that, well, I'm single, or I want to be single, and all the good men or women are taken, you know, and that's really not the case. For myself, I had two marriages that failed, a lot of failed relationships in between them. And this was a fine example for myself of these emotional blockages that I had. And so once I realized that, and like for all of us, a lot of our relationship patterns happens from our childhood and watching our parents and or relationships that they've had with other people. And one of the things I say is that there should be a class in elementary school and or middle school, at least, on proper boundaries with people. Nobody's ever taught me proper boundaries. I didn't understand what boundaries were until I was much older. And actually, as I started going through the process of clearing out some of these blockages, because I was saying to myself, after the second failed marriage, I was thinking to myself, I was like, man, you know, here I am drawing in all these really crazy people into my life. But in reality, there must be something crazy about me. And then that's when I started to dive in deeper with the Qigong practices. And that's when I really started to understand about the fact that I grew up and there was no boundaries, and my parents didn't have it, my mom didn't have it. And so I was manifesting the same relationship pattern as my parents had over and over and over again. Until finally, I met the love of my life, Prisa, and that would not have happened if I did not go through these practices to clear out whatever those emotional blockages were. And those emotional blockages, again, were also partly due to these organs being out of balance as well. They're both interconnected. So once I started to process that and work on that, and then guess what? It all started to drift away. So the truth about relationships is that when you cultivate your life essence, you gain inner peace and a deeper understanding, and you attract the relationships that you want. And you attract the relationships that are healthy for you. And, you know, people that say, you know, why do I keep on drawing in the same people in my life? Or why do I keep on drawing in the same type of man or the same type of woman? You know, and the reality is because you have to start to change yourself. And it has to start on the inside. I guarantee you, you start to change yourself today, and you'll draw in, after just doing these practices for just a few months, you'll start to draw in people that are healthy, that are on the same vibrational path or frequency as you are, and you actually will start to change as to who comes into your life. And once you have that, then you'll start to understand more about what healthy boundaries looks like for you. What is acceptable, what is a deal breaker, and what is non-negotiable. I mean, this is some of the things that we need to ask ourselves when we're looking at healthy relationships. So Qigong is, once again, is another way to help balance out this third aspect of relationship health in your life. So the fourth one is that financial health. You know, a lot of people, we view money based upon what our parents have said to us. I know growing up as a kid, we struggled for money. You know, we lived on the issued big block of cheese, freeze-dried milk, and I don't care how much sugar you add to freeze-dried milk, it does not taste like milk. And so a lot of my parents' perceptions about money were passed down to me and to my brothers, and because they would say things like, oh, money doesn't grow on trees, or you have to work hard for your money. And you know, money isn't easy to come by. Well, if you start to play those thought patterns in your mind over and over again, guess what? That actually starts to show up. If you think that money is bad, then guess what? It's energy. And I know there's some people out there that say that money is not real anyways. In truth, yes, on some level that's the truth. But the reality is, up to right now, majority of the world has to rely upon money as a tangible means of energy exchange. So another Qigong teacher that finished our level 1 and level 2 program, when she first came in with some body pain, and as well as lower lumbar pain and slight depression. And financially, you know, she wanted a change with her career. And so what happened was that she attended this webinar and thought, okay, you know what? I'm just going to take a chance and see. And considered what she did before as working for security for a university, she realized, like, you know what, that job, that yes, it pays the bills, helps support my kids, but it's not really filling my bucket. So what can I do also in order to help add to my financial resources? And what she's actually doing now, she's actually teaching classes out there in public and pulling in extra money on the weekends, and doing these extra side classes that's given her an extra value income. And she's slowly working to build up to a place where she could actually leave the other job and then do what it is that I do, which is teach for the public and help to transform the world. So you may also be thinking that it's easy for you to say you're financially set. Well, you know, it's all perception. You know, for some people, for them to have this financial freedom could be just having something very simple, not owning too many things, having a simple little home, or having an apartment that's peaceful, you know. Or you could have the person that wants the big mansion that's on top of the mountain, overlooking the valley or overlooking a lake or whatever. And the reality is that there's no right or wrong. Your reality, your perception of what comfort is to you is your perception. And what I'm suggesting here today is that there's no right or wrong. Let's say you want to have very minimal. Let's say you want to have a lot. Let's say you like to live in a lap of luxury. There's no reason why you cannot enjoy the fruits of life and have everything that it is that you want in life. You know, Master Nee, whose book we use for the level 2 program, he says in one of his books that having lots of money is not a bad thing. It says that you don't boast about or show off how much you have. So, you know, be more humble about it. But there's no right or wrong as to how much money is good for you. Again, it's all perception. So really the truth about your finances is that persistence and perseverance doesn't mean that you have to kill yourself. I used to think, especially when I first started off my business with the Morning Creative Healing Art Center in San Jose, that I had to work the 12, 16-hour days, and that if I worked hard, then the financial freedom would come to me. And I really would say this to myself. But the reality is, over the years of running the business, and I've been in clinical practice now for 18 years, the reality is that no. Yes, you have to eat the bitter, meaning that you have to put in the work. It's just like if you want ultimate health, you have to cultivate yourself. You have to want to improve your overall well-being in order to get the fruits of the work that was put in. Same thing with having a career, and especially if you're somebody who's an entrepreneur like I am, who aspires to be an entrepreneur. Yes, it takes about 2 to 3 years, honestly, for any entrepreneur, for any business, to really see the traction that they need, unless you're somebody that's gifted in a family that already has an abundance of money to help you with that. You know, there's no guarantees in life. There's no guarantees when you're starting a business, but I guarantee you that from doing these kinds of practices, and if this is something you want to do as a career, or once again aid into what it is that you're already doing for people out there as a social worker, physical therapist, whatnot, then you could only enhance and increase that income that you're aspiring to have. And your external environment is a direct mirror of what's going on internally. So if you're struggling financially, then we need to really look at what's going on inside of you in order that actually creates this blockage or this imbalance. And being a Qigong teacher, it's been a great gift for me, because not only do I get to share this knowledge with the world, I get to witness and watch the thousands and thousands of people throughout the years transform their life and improve their way of life, which then trickles out to other people around them. On top of that, I also get to take care of my own health. So as I'm teaching the classes, or as I'm giving a lecture on disease prevention, I also get to do these practices. So when I'm teaching the class, I'm doing the practices with the group as well too. So I get to continue to improve my health and my overall well-being, because it's a daily process. It's not that after 25 years of doing these practices, I have the golden ticket to where I don't have to do anything anymore. No, the reality is that I still do. And the cool thing about having this as my career is that I get the ability to take care of my health and my well-being. So talking about career, they say, is our spiritual health. And the reason for that, Dr. Mao Xingni in Los Angeles from Yosan University, we were at a lecture of his, and he made a comment that when you come into this life form, you sign a contract with heaven that you are to find your life purpose. Because if you find your life purpose, that is a way that God, the universe, can manifest itself. And what was interesting is that he had people in the class. He said there's like 70 people in the class, physicians, all kinds of people were taking this class on spiritual health, on career health. And he asked the class, how many people enjoy what it is that they're doing or look forward to going into work the next day? There's probably only about 5 of us who rose our hands. And that's pretty sad. That means that the rest of the class, over 98% of the class, really did not like what they were doing for a living. And so it's a grind. And so those people are struggling because they're still searching for their life purpose. If you understand what your life purpose is, then you can understand how God then will manifest itself through you. And your life purpose, that could be different for everybody. So what you may be thinking too is that Qigong is new to me, or I just started in my business as a chiropractor, physical therapist, a social worker, psychologist, whatnot. And the reality is that as you continue to cultivate yourself, then what happens is that you start to draw in people of your own vibration. And when you draw in people of your own vibration, there will be there, as you are here today on this webinar, in order to help to improve their well-being. And so guess what? The patient list, that client list starts to grow. And then at first it may seem like a trickle effect, and then all of a sudden things open up for you and more people are then drawn to you. And when we look at our career health as our spiritual health, I'm going to give an example. Last summer, before we went away to Los Angeles, Paris's car got a flat tire, and it was a Prius, and I didn't know this, but the Priuses don't have spare tires, and so we had to call a tow truck. And this tow truck driver is like 25 years old, and he just got out of the Marines, and we're talking, and he says, I love being a tow truck driver. This is my dream. He goes, yeah, I have a GI Bill that I can go back to college anytime and change careers if I want. He goes, but I live and think driving tow trucks. And I thought that was so amazing. It goes to show you, some people, their life fulfilling purpose is to be a doctor, a lawyer. And this young guy's story is showing that, yeah, you could have that. You could have that, that education behind you like that. But for everybody, it's not for everybody. This guy here, he found his purpose from being a tow truck driver. And in reality, he is giving back to society because he's helping people that are stranded like we were. And it was so pleasant to see somebody so young that was so excited about doing what they're doing for a living. Because building a career, when I was a butcher, I love this picture. When I was a butcher for 21 years and a meat manager. And as I was building Morning Crane, I was also cutting back my hours as a meat manager, which was something that that you normally couldn't do, because as a butcher, you can't, by union contract and company policy, you could not work less than 40 hours a week. And I could tell that I was living my life purpose as I was building Morning Crane, because miraculously I had the support from supervisors and managers that allowed me to cut back my hours in order for me to continue to build my business on the outside. And what's cool about having your life purpose is that you're able to, once again, allow the universe to fully express itself. And having life purpose is different also from your financial wealth. I'll give you an example. I have a client that's one of the top 1% in the country. So financially, he said, like he tells me, he says, Chris, my investors, my financial people tell me that your problem is, Joe, is that you're going to have a hard time spending all the money that you have. But you know what? This man had no life purpose. But from doing these practices, from also doing some 5-element coaching with me, you know what? He's finally finding his life purpose, and actually just got done doing a trip and serving a lot of people. And so where this man, even though he was financially set, he had no purpose, and now he's discovered that purpose. So I'm hoping that you're enjoying this webinar so far, because we want people to become empowered and to be able to change and understand that there are actually 5 keys to treating disease and combating the side effects of chronic pain. So what are these 5 keys? So once again, just to wrap things up, it's your physical health, your mental, emotional health, your financial health, your relationship health, and your career health, which is your spiritual health. So these are the 5 keys to curing disease and treating chronic pain. And what I like about the Qigong is that it gives you tools to deal with stress. And like Master Nee says here, by practicing self-cultivation techniques, one develops a sensitivity to the energies constantly circling within the body. And so once your vibration changes, guess what? That abundancy in those 5 areas of your life also flourishes, and then your life flourishes as well too. And so this is such a simple way to become a change maker. And how do you become a change maker? Once again, it has to start with you. I hear so many times that after this past election, I had so many clients that were actually physically ill because of the results of the elections. And in reality, if they wanted to change something, they have to start changing themselves first. Look back inside. What is going on inside for them? Because really what's going on in the outside environment should actually start from, cultivating what's on the inside. And if something on the outside is affecting you that much internally, then there's something going on. So the cool thing about learning Qigong for your own health is it enhances your own well-being. You get to enjoy improved health, improved vitality. You get to enjoy the presence of being healthy and happy. You get to help others. So what I mean by this is that, let's say you have a grandparent, a mother, a child who has ADD or whatnot. You could actually teach these practices to them to help them deal with whatever issues that they are dealing with. Or if you're somebody like me that wants the ideal dream job, this is it. And Qigong we call Qigong the new yoga. The reason why is because it's up and coming. Finally, after all these years, Qigong is finally getting out to the mainstream. And it slowly gets out there to the mainstream. And because of people like you, people that want to create change and say, you know what, I understand what you're saying. I hear what you're saying, Chris, and I want to create the change first for myself, then for the people around me. So the other cool thing about it too is that you get to celebrate, if you are in the healthcare profession, you get to celebrate watching your clients or your patients improve and change. And then you ultimately get to spread the love of life. So, like I said before, we have the most complete and profound online Qigong teacher training program out there. It's such a simple, we're not teaching you just the simple movements because they feel good, or the simple breathing meditations because they help you relax. We want you to understand how to really cure chronic pain and transform disease. And it starts off with balancing out their 5 healths. And you can become the change maker that this world needs. And definitely, this world definitely needs to have more people like you that are going to help to spread the love and create the change for the world. So what you'll gain from signing up today is that you will receive constant support from me and my wife Parisa through email, the forum, because there is an online forum that gives you interactive connectability to the other students taking the course with you. You'll get a foundational Qigong practice. It increases your life and your overall well-being, which this is priceless, and the opportunity to become a teacher if this is what you want to do, and share this powerful practice with others, which is of limitless value. If you sign up today, you also will get a Qigong Teacher Training swag bag, which includes a t-shirt, both of the books that are required for the course, which one of the books is my book, Qigong for Self-Refinement, Total Health of the 5 Elements, a Qigong Teacher Training binder, and the swag bag itself. And if you sign up today, what we're really excited about is that the next level 1 starts January 29th, 2019. And if you make one payment, we're cutting off $450 in the one payment of $10.99. So you save the $450 and actually $451. And it's something that it's just limitless as to how you could actually help to improve your life and then help other people. But if you're somebody that says, well, that might be a little bit much for one payment, can I do 3 monthly payments? If so, then you're going to save a total of $150, or save a total of $450. So, and you could go ahead and sign up today and save big. So within the next 48 hours. Also, what I'm also offering too, besides these big savings for something that you could apply to your life to increase your well-being and help others, is sign up today and you'll get a free coaching session with me, whether in person or live via Zoom, and to help you understand what you need to do to get balance in all 5 areas of your life. So come to me with all your questions, whether health, financial, whatever, and then we'll sit down and we have an hour discussion. And this value is $295, because normally we charge $295 for someone to come in to have a coaching session. So please take advantage of this offer. Now this offer isn't going to last long, so you know the savings of $451 or $851 is huge, and so $10.99 is something that you can't put a price on when you're looking at taking care of your health and your well-being. So what other people are saying, Kari here, she's an acupuncturist who's been with us at Morning Crane for several years. When she first came on to Morning Crane as an acupuncturist, you know, she was under a lot of stress. Believe it or not, had a lot of health problems too. Part of her stress was because the doctor's office she was working at before, there was a lot of negative energy there. And so when she started taking the Qigong Teacher Training program, it actually helped to transform her life. And she actually became a teacher. Now her whole acupuncture practice has changed as a result of it. Now she's actually incorporating these Qigong practices into her acupuncture treatments, as well as changing how she does her treatment. So once again, this is just another example of how these simple practices help to develop her career as well. So to be a change maker, it all starts with you. And we are happy and excited that you are here today on this webinar, because if you joined us on this webinar today, it means that you want some kind or seeking some kind of change in your life. And the change starts with you. Take advantage of the savings that we're offering you, because once again, the $851 savings, $10.99 for this level 1 program is really priceless when it comes to your health. You know, and I have some clients that live, so to speak, paycheck by paycheck. And when asked, why do you continue to come in for sessions? And their answer is that I cannot put a price tag on my health. And if it means that coming to you is what's going to help me improve my health at all 5 levels, then I'll spend my last dime coming to you, because there's no price tag. Because you could have all the money in the world, but if you're suffering till the day you die, then that's no way to live. So what we're here to say is, be the change, empower yourself, sign up today. So from Chris Shelton and Prisa, we thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you later.